Good afternoon. I'd like to call the Health and Human Services and Aging Committee to order Wednesday, May 18th, and it's currently 12 after 1. Madam Clerk, if you could please call the roll.
As a reminder to all in attendance, this meeting is being recorded and live streamed on the county YouTube page. Calling the roll, Ms. Conwell.
Present.
Mr. Sweeney. Mr. Sweeney is absent at the moment. Ms. Turner.
Here.
Mr. Miller.
Here.
Ms. Stevens.
Present.
We have a quorum.
All right, I'd like to make a motion to excuse Councilman Sweeney, even though it's not necessary. We still like to do protocol. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Mr. Sweeney has been excused. We do have public comment, but I want to skip over that for a moment. Approval of the minutes. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes from the May 4th meeting?
So moved.
All right, it's been moved.
I'll second the motion.
All right, seconded by Miller. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right. Just to let individuals know, when you come up to the podium, please state your name and your organization. Sometimes that is miscommunicated. Make sure you turn on the green light so all of that is caught on recording. Madam Clerk, turning it back over to you. Do we have any public comment for today?
Yes, we have one person signed in, Lou.
Right. Welcome, Ms. Lou.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Don't worry. I know all the routines. Fortunately, I'm very happy to be here today because today we have a very important case we want to know more information about. Food bank has been our place when you cannot afford any other way to get a food. That's where you will go. That also carries a negative impression because some people, they do feel it's a shame for them to go there because that shows they're low income. However, today's case, we will turn it around. We will show food bank is as good as any other place. People can go in there with their heads up because a food bank is in the community, truly offer the help people need. However, this will bring up to a different issue. While food bank can actually do better, change public's view about food, about nutrition, and also take out the shame, the stigmas, our homeless population are still pressed with the issue and getting worse. For example, this particular project will be funded by ARPA funds. At the same time, county also addressed that the homeless shelters will also have a support from ARPA funds. However, guess what? I still have to repeat again. If you give the money to the usual suspects, will they really properly utilize the funding? Not everybody will be like a food bank. They make an effort even before ARPA funds came out. They already got the good contractors to help them to get their goals reached. But unfortunately, in the homeless service industry, all these entities only waiting for the funding, not doing anything proactive, and actually waste the funding. I have to repeat again. Today, when I left the building, I still have to use this paper napkins to use the restroom. The whole building, no toilet tissue in any of the toilet stalls. At least the ones I can use. So, will we be able to utilize the funds properly to actually reach the goal, to actually improve everything we need to improve? Big question mark. However, here, I will still congratulate food banks. You have a better, brighter futures, but will homeless population to be able to get out of the homelessness to enjoy what food bank can offer in the future? Still a no. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lou. Right. If we can have our invited guest up, we want to welcome today the Food Bank for attending and giving us a presentation. Madam Clerk, if you could read the item into the record, please.
Resolution 2022-0125, authorizing a grant award to the Greater Cleveland Food Bank in the amount not to exceed $5 million to construct a new and expanded food distribution center in the City of Cleveland's Collinwood neighborhood and to renovate the current facility located at 15500 South Waterloo Road, Cleveland.
Madam Chair, David Merriman on behalf of the Department of Health and Human Services. I'm going to turn over the presentation to the Food Bank in a few minutes. Just want to recognize the staff of the Division of Contract Administration and Performance have facilitated this grant agreement. They're supporting the process to move the contract or the agreement through, and I think will ultimately be available to help execute the agreement. But that's the extent of our role, and so what I'd like to do is I'd like to turn it over to the Food Bank for their presentation.
Thank you,
Madam
David.
Chair, as the food bank approaches, I'd like to say something to Mr. Merriman.
Yes, Mr. Merriman, come back.
I want to thank you and your team for making this happen. As you know, this is based in my district. And even though I'm the council person, I show up one Saturday a month to do what needs to be done because there are more constituents than just mine in need of this important service. So thank your team for, because I there's a conflict of me writing the contract. So thank your team for making this happen and expediting it. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Kind of you to say so, I will pass on your gratitude. Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon and welcome.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you, Councilwoman. Thank you, Lou, for your comments. And thank you all for having us here today and for being such wonderful advocates for the partners and the clients that we all serve together across Cuyahoga County. Many of you have been out to the food bank, have heard about our plans, but this is a really wonderful opportunity to present them to you again and to answer any questions you may have. We're making extraordinary progress, and support and partnership from Cuyahoga County will make an extraordinary difference. I'm Kristen Warzoka. I have the pleasure and privilege of serving as the President and CEO of the Greater Cleveland Food Bank. I have with me a number of colleagues today. Also presenting are Kimberly Lovano, our Director of Advocacy, and Jessica Morgan, our Chief Programs Officer. We also have Velisa Turner-Howard with us, who's on our staff at the Food Bank. Velisa has been a great addition, and once upon a time, she worked here at Cuyahoga County. So apologies for that. But as I get started, let me make sure I can make this clicker work here. Can I do it? As you all know, the mission of the Greater Cleveland Food Bank is to ensure that everyone in our communities has the nutritious food they need every day. It's an aspirational mission when we say everyone and every day, but that is our goal. And every year we work to get closer to that goal. Now, certainly, the last couple of years have provided us with some particular challenges, as you all know, with the COVID pandemic. When the pandemic first hit, the need for emergency food skyrocketed. At the same time, a number of our partner agencies had no choice but to close their doors for health and safety reasons. As examples, we have about 100 partners that provide after-school meals, mostly at schools or in other environments where it was not safe to gather. We also have a long list of senior partners for whom we provide Meals on Wheels or congregate meals. They certainly couldn't bring seniors together at the beginning in a congregate meal setting. And so the food bank stepped in to fill very significant gaps in service. Some of you have been out to help us in the Muni Lot with our drive-through distribution, and thank you. You've seen the need firsthand. We originally thought we'd be in the Muni Lot for a couple of months. That was intended to be a temporary solution. Unfortunately, the need is still significant, and so we are still there more than 2 years later, every week, serving literally thousands of families. In fiscal year 2021, we served a total of 343,000 unique individuals. That's an unduplicated number Across our 6-county service area, more than 2/3 of them, though, were Cuyahoga County residents who either turned to the food bank or turned to one of our program partners for assistance. We also help provide SNAP application assistance, which is something we do in partnership with Cuyahoga County and other counties where our clients live. Last year, we submitted about 11,000 completed SNAP applications on behalf of income-eligible residents, and also help people apply for other benefits that they might be eligible for to help improve their stability. As you can see, food comes in from a variety of different sources every year. We get food from the federal government, from the state of Ohio, from the food industry, and we also do quite a lot of purchasing. We've purchased more food over the last couple of years than ever before because food donations have been down due to supply chain issues. And at certain times, the county has helped us with that as well. So thank you. It has been interesting to see the number of families who come to the Muni Lot each Thursday afternoon. And this chart represents all of the different distributions we've done since we began that drive-through. What I think is interesting and important, and the reason we share this so often, is it speaks to fluctuating demand, but the fact that demand is still high. We typically, and many of you had been to this too over the years, had done pre-pandemic a monthly distribution at our food bank, a produce distribution, and some of you helped us at the holidays. And at a very, very busy holiday distribution, we might serve 1,000 families. When the pandemic happened, we happened to have one of those distributions scheduled. It was the third Thursday of March, the third Thursday of the month, rapidly coming our way. We knew we couldn't bring all the clients into the facility as we typically would have done because there was a very long line. Many of the clients were senior citizens on oxygen with walkers in wheelchairs, and we just knew it wasn't safe, and so we shifted to our first drive-through distribution. And that was we served more clients that day than any monthly distribution we'd ever done. And every bar since then is a weekly distribution. So, we are still serving about 2,000 families a week. That's 8,000 families a month compared to 1,000 families a month pre-pandemic through that one method of distribution. And I would add that sadly, our entire network, when we look at all of our program partners, served more people in March of 2022 than they served in March of 2021. And we believe that can be attributed to inflation, the effect of rising food and fuel costs on seniors and on families who were already struggling on a tight budget, for whom the bills went up and they didn't have any extra room in their budget. You can also see here that many times when the numbers started to come down, it was in response to federal support. When unemployment went out, when enhanced unemployment went out, the numbers started to come down. Because we know that when our clients have dollars to buy food, they go to the supermarket, right? We saw that when the stimulus checks went out. We saw that when child tax credit checks went out. But when those checks run out, slowly but surely the numbers start to come back up. And so now that many of those benefits, those additional dollars have ended, we are noticing that we've got this consistent, steady number. And I will say we are concerned about what happens when additional SNAP benefits that folks have been receiving go back to their normal allotment. We have not seen the impact of that yet. All in all, we served about 1 in 4 Cuyahoga County residents since the pandemic began, and about 60% of City of Cleveland residents have turned to the food bank or our network of partner programs at least once during the pandemic for emergency help. As Councilwoman Stevens mentioned so eloquently, there are, of course, clients of the food bank and our partners in every area of Cuyahoga County, and significant numbers of people being served. This is a breakout in fiscal year 2019 and 2020, so pre-pandemic and the first year of the pandemic. And in this case, It's actually broken out by council district. There is no area that is immune to hunger. I'll pass the microphone to Kimmy Lovano.
Good afternoon. I wanted to take the time that we're here together just to ensure that everyone is aware here, everyone watching, of what we're anticipating over the coming months and over the coming years. There is a lot coming at us at once. At the food bank, we've been describing it. It feels like a perfect storm is brewing, and not a lot of people know about what is on the verge of happening. And what we have been talking about for years now, and something that we're very concerned about, is just about to happen, and that is the end of the federal health emergency. While that has not been officially declared yet, there's no date yet for when the public health emergency will end. We know that it will. And when the public health emergency ends, we will see so many families who have relied on pandemic-era supports to make ends meet. And those supports will end, and it will create a cliff. We've seen that happen already with the end of the enhanced child tax credit payments that went out. Those payments went out to families at the end of last year. When those payments expired, about 4 million additional kids went into poverty. It's heartbreaking to think about all of those kids who were lifted out of poverty because of that program. And all of those kids are right back where they started before the program began. At the food bank, we're also getting ready for this pandemic support cliff, and we've started to feel it. Since the pandemic started, we received additional food and funding through the Emergency Food Assistance Program at the food bank. We call that TFAP. It's American-grown food that's given to us by the U.S. Department of Agriculture. And during 2021, we would receive and give out about 1 million pounds of food per month through that program. Since January, that food has seen a sharp reduction. We are now giving out about 550,000 pounds of that food on a monthly basis. That is an enormous gap compared to the resources that we had in 2020 and 2021 during the pandemic. I also want to make everyone aware of the expiration of a number of flexibilities that we've had during the pandemic. During the pandemic, the federal government gave food banks and child meal sponsors the ability to provide grab-and-go meals. We were able to feed kids in a way that was efficient, it was effective. We gave out grab-and-go meals, multiple meals at once when kids would come to visit us. Starting in June, just in a couple of weeks, we no longer have that ability, and 50,000 meals will be lost this summer from those flexibilities going away. And something that we really wanted to make sure to highlight while we were here today is the expiration of SNAP emergency allotments. Now, this has been coming up in the news a bit more lately. And SNAP emergency allotments, essentially households have been receiving the maximum benefit for their household size since the pandemic started. Now, when these emergency allotments go away, the average SNAP recipient will lose $80 per person per month. In Cuyahoga County, we estimate that that could be about 54 million meals annually lost. On this slide, what you'll see in the left-hand bar are all of the meals estimated to be provided through SNAP on an annual basis. 154 million meals annually provided through the SNAP program. And you'll see almost a third of those, more than a third of those, will be lost when emergency allotments end. And those allotments are tied to the public health emergency. On the right, you'll see all of the meals that were distributed in Cuyahoga County by the food bank last year, 36 million meals. And you can see that we simply cannot make up for this loss in Cuyahoga County. And I think it speaks to how urgent our expansion project is right now in being able to meet the need and make sure that everyone in our community has the food that they need when the public health emergency does end. Now, the last thing that I wanted to talk about before handing it over to my colleague, Jessica Morgan, is the supply chain challenges that we're facing and the rising costs of food and transportation that all of us are feeling right now. This is probably the question at the food bank that we hear most often is what is happening now with supply chain and rising food costs. And the answer is that it's affecting everyone in our community. families are going to the store and they can't afford some of the items that they've been buying in the past. The price of food over the past 12 months has gone up 11% for the average household. The cost of gas, I know a lot of folks have felt this, has gone up 44%. These are all numbers that just came out yesterday from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. The cost of utilities and shelter, these are unprecedented increases. And for families, these are not budgeted increases. They've not, in many cases, received additional compensation to make up for this increase. So what we're seeing at our muni lot distributions, as Kristen showed, is a continued high demand of people looking for help. We're also feeling these increases at the food bank. Our retail donations have gone down because if you go to the grocery store, there's not as much on the shelves. That means that food's not making its way to us. And so we've had to go out and purchase additional food. In a typical year before the pandemic, about 50% of our food was donated. That number's at about 32% right now. And we are purchasing 2.5 times as much food as we did before the pandemic. That is tricky for us, where our food costs are up about 25%, and the cost of diesel has skyrocketed. It's up 60%, and we're now budgeting $5.50 a gallon for our fleet to get food out to our community. So I could talk about this for a long time, and I'm more than happy to answer any questions after, but I want to make sure I give enough time to my colleague Jess to talk about our project.
Good afternoon. As Kimmy mentioned and Kristen mentioned, my name is Jessica Morgan. I am the Food Bank's Chief Programs Officer, and I'd love to bring this kind of home and talk a little bit about why we're here today and, of course, your generous support and what it could mean for our community. So as I'll go back just really quickly, this is our new food distribution center located on Coit Road in the Collinwood neighborhood. And currently, we're about 60% or so to completion. This new expanded food distribution facility, we actually started talking about our expansion prior to the pandemic even starting. Back in 2018, our strategic planning group, made up of community leaders, staff leaders, and our board, we really started to talk about the food bank's future and how we needed to step up to meet the growing need back then. And then, of course, the pandemic happened and everything that we just talked about today, which has made this project even more urgent. So we are expanding. We are moving into a brand new food distribution center located, as I said, on Coit Road in the Collinwood neighborhood. This new facility is going to give us the expanded capacity that we so need so that we can meet the numerous needs of our community. We'll have about 30% more dry storage capacity, bringing in food, 98% more cold storage capacity. About 2/3 of what the food bank distributes right now is perishable. That means healthy, fresh produce, lean proteins, bakery, dairy, eggs, and so giving us 98% more capacity to get that healthy food out is even more critical now than it ever has been. Our current building on South Waterloo Road has a kitchen that's about 4,000 square feet, and we have completely outgrown that. When we built our building a number of years ago, we did so with the capacity to produce about 4,000 meals in our kitchen. We are up to sometimes 7,000, 7,500 meals a day in our kitchen now, and we have literally overfilled our space with the work that needs to be done. And so this new kitchen will give us the opportunity to produce even more highly nutritious meals specifically for children and seniors. We will have more space for volunteers, for staff, for a network of agencies. About 45% of the food that is distributed out of our building is done so through our network of partners who physically come to our building to pick those orders up. And they deserve enhanced space to make it as efficient as possible for them. And of course, new equipment, new fleet, new enhancements to our fleet, I should say, and of course, IT capacity. IT, there's lots that we can do around technology, not only internally, but also externally. When we move out of Coit Road, the project certainly does not stop there. Here's just a couple of pictures of the exterior of Coit Road, and the interior, that's actually our kitchen. We're going to quadruple the space of our kitchen. We're very excited about that. But the work doesn't stop there. We will be keeping our current facility on South Waterloo Road, just about 5 minutes away from where the new building will be. And we will be renovating that building into a very friendly client service center. Our goal is to have a healthy choice food pantry with extended hours, evenings and weekends, so that we can reach populations who might be working. And we want to really provide healthy options. We want it to feel like a grocery store. And so we will be hosting that service on site. But in addition, we know that individuals are hungry because of some other issue. There's national research that suggests that families who are struggling with hunger are also struggling in areas relating to their health, have challenges related to appropriate housing support, so struggling to pay their rent, struggling to pay their mortgage, struggling with utilities, and also employment. We know, especially when the pandemic hit, that there was mass layoffs, and individuals, especially in the service industry, struggled with employment, keeping their hours. And while we have seen some of that recoup, there are families who put themselves into debt during those situations who are still feeling those effects, even if they are back to work. So having employment resources on site will be critical. Beyond those resources, we know that families are in need of other services. We've done some client surveys and have learned that our clients would also like to see other basic needs provided, like clothing and school supplies, legal support, and access to education. Our food bank outreach team, we have a team of about 25 or so individuals who are either helping individuals over the phone apply for public benefits or out in the community helping individuals apply for public benefits. We know that we are going to get a lot of requests for that sort of assistance, and so we would also love to engage the county and see if there's a world where we can get a couple of county caseworkers on site, so that if somebody comes to the food bank and is in need of public assistance, that there's somebody on site who can help them with those applications. In addition, we will have we'll still have our warehouse, and we plan to use that as overflow storage. So this is a very early rendering of what that client choice food pantry could look like. If you've ever been to the food bank, the goal is for that to be located in what is now our repack room, which is essentially right off of our lobby. And so we want it to be bright and welcoming and friendly and non-threatening and stocked with lots of healthy food items. We have a very strong nutrition team at the food bank, and we'd love to get them incorporated into this as well. And I'm going to turn it back over to Kristen to bring us home and talk a little bit about the project budget.
Thanks, Jess. One of the things that I love about that last picture of our choice food pantry is that I think it will do a whole lot to reduce the stigma that Lou mentioned earlier, and the shame that unfortunately some people feel when they have to turn to an emergency food program for help. We don't want people to be ashamed. We want them to be able to come in with their heads held high, knowing that it's a difficult time for them, and we want to make sure that they have a wonderful selection of healthy food that they can choose and take home to their families. So this is a significant project and a significant investment for our community. We've got the building of the Coit Road, 197,000 square foot community food distribution center with additional cold storage, more cold docks, a large production kitchen, larger volunteer space, et cetera. As Jess mentioned, that's well underway. We are miraculously, blessedly, more or less on schedule to complete construction of that facility late summer and to move in shortly thereafter. We cannot get into that facility soon enough. We've had a very aggressive construction timeline all along and are thrilled to be sticking pretty close to that timeline. In addition to building that 197,000 square foot facility, we also have the renovation of the South Waterloo facility. So that is creating the family-friendly food pantry. It is adding to our lobby, because we are expecting a very significant number of visitors each year. I think, as was mentioned, it will be open evening and weekend hours for working families who sometimes struggle to find a social service agency open when they're not at work. In addition to that, we'll take folks who come in from a variety of neighborhoods. Right now, a lot of our partner agencies limit service at a certain food pantry to people from that neighborhood, right? We know that a lot of neighborhoods don't have evening and weekend hours, right? And they don't have this wide selection of healthy food. So we will not have neighborhood limits, and we expect that that will also keep us pretty busy. So a larger lobby will help us accommodate. And we're also renovating a lot of the other space to bring in these incredible nonprofit partners who are great at solving issues related to housing and employment and healthcare, and who plan to be right there on site. Beyond that, we've built dollars for this project to help expand the capacity of our partner agency network. As I mentioned, we've got 1,000 program partners in 6 counties, the majority of them in Cuyahoga County. Want to make sure that they've got the equipment, the cooler space, the trucks they need to distribute more food and reach more people. And ultimately, after this food pantry is opened on the east side at our South Waterloo site, we do plan to do additional locations on the south and west side, because we know that not everybody in need lives close to Collinwood Yards, right? And that's a little farther down the road. We want to learn what we can learn, certainly, from our expansion and our client service center at South Waterloo, and then put that learning to work on the west and south side, pardon me. So the total project is $79 million. The community has been extraordinarily generous, but we still have work to do. 36 million, almost 37 million has been committed by philanthropy, foundations, corporations, and individual donors, including our board. In addition to that, we are enormously grateful to have had the opportunity to apply for new market tax credits. We received a $5 million infusion towards the Coit Road project in a new market tax credit deal, and also received a $5 million commitment of ARPA funds from the city of Cleveland, and are profoundly grateful to this group for your consideration of a $5 million commitment from Cuyahoga County as well. Now, that will take us to $52 million. We will still have significant dollars left to raise, but it will make a wonderful difference as we work to keep moving with our aggressive schedule and be able to provide more support to a community that needs it. Our estimated annual impact, and I believe this to be conservative at this point, but we believe that we could be serving more than 25,000 additional families a year, every year, through our new community food distribution center, or new client service center, pardon me, and that we'll be providing more than 10 million more meals every year with the additional capacity that these spaces will offer us, as well as an additional 2.5 million meals a year through our kitchen. Now, this won't all happen overnight, right? This will happen over time, but we're building this for the next 20 years, because if we've learned nothing else, it's that things could change, right? There could be a pandemic, there could be a natural disaster, or there could be changes in benefits at any time that have a significant impact on the clients that we serve, and we need to be ready to respond. We anticipate that over the next 10 years, we'll be adding 64 positions. We are really proud to be North Coast 99 top employer, I think 5 years in a row now, if I'm not mistaken, and to offer good paying jobs and benefits to all of our staff at the food bank. That's something we take very seriously, wanting to ensure that our team is food secure. And of course, we'll need more volunteers to help us do all of this. Thank you for your consideration. Thanks for your incredible support and partnership in our work over the years. What questions may we answer for you?
Director, how many, How many jobs will be offered?
So 64 is our estimate over 10 years.
How many people currently, Madam Chair, work at the?
Oh, I'm sorry, 168 full-time employees currently.
So you want to add?
Yes, that's correct.
And volunteers that you're looking for to expect?
So we currently have, well, pre-pandemic, more than 20,000 volunteers a year. We lost some of those volunteers when the pandemic first started because corporations and schools, right, had folks who were staying home. The governor, at our request, sent in the National Guard to fill the gap, which was extraordinary, a great service, and slowly but surely volunteers are coming back. A lot of regulars, like our councilwoman, have helped us through a difficult time.
Right, and in terms of, you talked about your partnerships with other providers, and I know you have I don't know why there's an echo. You have a meeting with Hunger Network and probably other providers on a regular basis.
Absolutely.
Are you guys, I know the need's out there,
Yeah.
but can you kind of share with the committee how that is, since you guys are expanding, how is that going to have any impact on Hunger Network or any of the other providers?
Absolutely. So we provide food to all of the agencies affiliated with the Hunger Network of Greater Cleveland, the Salvation Army, Catholic Charities, Boys and Girls Clubs. The majority of nonprofit organizations in Cuyahoga County that you're familiar with that provide food to people in need get all or the majority of that food from the food bank. And so when we have additional capacity to provide more fresh perishable food, for example, or more meals through our kitchen, that will mean that our partner agencies can access more food for the clients that they serve.
I want to open it up to my colleagues for any questions. Councilman Miller?
First, I would like to just say that this is extraordinarily important work. It's important that when we see people hungry that we respond, and it just makes a huge difference in our community. My question is, if you could say a little bit more about what kind of things do all the 20,000 volunteers do? What kind of services do they perform?
Sure, I'd love to. Traditionally, volunteers have helped sort and repackage donated food from the food industry or from community food and funds drives like the Harvest for Hunger campaign in our repack center. Over the years, as we expanded our on-site production kitchen, which is now, frankly, one of the largest production kitchens in Northeast Ohio, because of the sheer quantity of meals we're making every day, we began to involve volunteers back in our kitchen. So they are helping us cook, helping us prepare meals for senior centers, for example, and helping us assemble meals for our children's program partners. Since the pandemic, we've engaged volunteers in even additional activities and some new things. So as an example, we need 100 volunteers every Thursday afternoon in the Muni lot to help with that distribution to serve about 2,000 families from 12 to 4. We're short a few volunteers tomorrow if anyone's interested. We also have started doing some home delivery. So volunteers have helped us with that. And in December, we opened a food pantry in Euclid. We did that because Euclid is a very underserved community. Almost 50% of Euclid residents are income eligible for food from the food bank. And so that pantry has gotten very busy very quickly, and we have volunteers helping in our pantry every day that it's open, helping stock the shelves and also helping our clients shop, make selections of healthy food.
Thank you. And my other question is whether you have any sites in mind for your locations on the south side or the west side, or if you don't have any sites in mind? Do you have a general sense of where you would see those facilities being located?
That's a great question. We are looking for another kind of a temporary site on the west side because there is such great need right now, similar to what we're doing in Euclid. And then longer term, once we establish the client service center in our current facility, we'll be looking for a more permanent location. Jess, do you want to talk a little bit about that work and some of the research we've done looking at underserved neighborhoods? Sure.
So I think the overarching thing we want to focus on is the data to help us make that decision. The good news is we have a lot of really helpful data at our fingertips. One of the things that we're looking at right now as it relates to a temporary space that Kristen just mentioned is communities that are underserved. There's something that we call the people gap. It is the number of residents in a specific community who are eligible versus the number of residents who are actually being served. And then that number in the middle lets us know that there's a gap of individuals who are eligible, but they're not being served for whatever reason. Sometimes it's because there aren't enough agencies in a particular community to meet that need. And so we have started to focus our efforts specifically on that data point to help us make that decision temporarily on the west side. There's 3 zip codes right now we're looking at, 111, 109, and 102 on that, kind of near west side location, just bordering Cleveland, but not too far away from some of the inner ring suburbs. When we get to our long-term strategy, we may want to pull in a couple of other data points. As Kristen mentioned, we'll learn a lot when we open up this client service center at South Waterloo, and we definitely want to use some of those learnings to help us make those decisions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right, I wanted to follow up with a question. In terms of this contract, is it contingent upon GCFB raising the remaining funds? I don't know what the verbiage is in the contract.
Marcos, you want to take that one?
Good afternoon, Marcos Cortez with the Health and Human Services Division of Contracts, Administration, and Performance. My understanding of the contract, it is not contingent upon any other funding being raised. I was looking at the actual disbursement of the funds, and those funds will be dispersed upon execution of this contract.
As a passage, you're saying?
Excuse me?
As a passage, as council passes it out, it'll be available for that.
Yes.
I don't know if we have legal representation, but in prior other contracts, not saying that this one can't be any different because of the service that it provides, but to my understanding, what I've always believed is that in these funds, as well as the CARE Act dollars, and I'm tired, sorry guys, that these funds were eligible only if there was like a full package. Is that only in like construction or something like that? What can you share why that is different in this case?
I unfortunately was not involved in the drafting of this one, so I would have to go back and look at it to be able to let you know for sure. I don't know if Marcos would know, but I'm not aware at this time.
Okay. Just to my knowledge, this is the only contract that we're doing in that different capacity. All of the funding packages had to be together. And David, can you speak to it, please? Thank you.
I think it's something we'll have to take back and look into. This is, I believe we're executing a grant agreement, unlike which is a form of a contract. I'll let the law department parse out the differences. But unlike other agreements where we tend to do reimbursement based on service utilization, I think we're preparing to front load the payment, and might be some specifics in it, but how about we take it offline and I'll provide you a response. Great.
Okay. All right. Any other questions from my colleagues?
Madam Chair, so over FY19, which was the last year pre-pandemic, we have sustained, going into 2022, we're looking at a 20% increase in service.
Oh, I'm
the
sorry.
minimum? Is that valid, or is it even larger?
You're
than
looking
that?
at the 19 and 20 data?
Yeah, I'm looking at
Yep.
when you look at the beginning of 2022.
Yep.
Those preliminary numbers are telling me that we're headed for a sustained 20% increase.
Well, we were up significantly, 20% plus, I believe, from 19 to 20. We came down a little bit in 2021 as people were going back to work, right? But now what's happening is it's leveling out. And, you know, with the changes that are coming our way, not just inflation, which we're seeing already, but also the loss of SNAP benefits, it is quite possible the numbers could go back up. So, you know, we, pre-pandemic, the food bank and our network of partner programs served, I should say, just over 300,000 people a year. There were more than 500,000 people in our 6-county service area who were income eligible for food for the food bank, from the food bank at 200% of poverty or less. So there was a significant people gap, as Jess mentioned, even before the pandemic, and this challenge has only gotten worse. And our goal is to address that.
So, in summary, the additional capacity will allow the Greater Cleveland Food Bank to serve an unknown number of people now.
Yes, it will allow us to serve more people. We'll have that capacity for the future, and we'll have that capacity for the year ahead as we respond to inflation and rising costs.
From the chair to President Coit, how do I butcher your name every time after all these
Kristen.
years? To President Kristen. There was this myth out there that food banks were turning away food in 2020 and 2021. Was that myth or fact?
Yes, we have had to turn away food. We had to turn away food just as the pandemic started because we simply didn't have room for it. Our overnight, you know, our warehouse filled up. We were storing food offsite. We had rented 6 semi-trailers for refrigerated storage out in the back of our facility. And yet sometimes we've got a very last-minute opportunity, and we literally couldn't take product in. You know, it was a last-minute donated opportunity. We couldn't take it in because we didn't have anywhere to put it. And, you know, having to turn food away when our community has so much need is absolutely heartbreaking. And so this additional capacity will mean that we're not in that position.
Unusual to turn food away.
Oh, very.
Okay.
Absolutely. And we also have had opportunities we simply can't take advantage of. Donors, you know, that we're not soliciting in the way that we once were, food donors, because we don't have room for it.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
David, or Marcos, did you want to speak to this? Is something for third reading, or is it needed immediately to, since it's a grant opportunity and the other funds have not secured yet?
I would leave that up to the committee to decide. Third reading or upon second reading suspension.
Madam Chair, I move that we,
I was about to look to you to kind of.
Madam Chair, I believe that we should move this to the full council as quickly as possible. Thank you.
No objection for that, so second reading suspension it is. Any final questions?
Madam Chair,
Councilman Miller?
I will second the motion.
Anything else you ladies would like to share?
Thank you all very much. I'll tell you, Councilwoman Conwell, we have full confidence that we will be able to raise these dollars. And
too.
certainly the support of Cuyahoga County is going to make a huge difference in propelling this project forward. So thank you.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor of moving R2022-0125 to the full council under second reading suspension, please say aye.
Aye.
All right. Out of this body to the body of the whole. Any miscellaneous business? All right. Meeting adjourned.